Don't let a no hold you back. If someone gives you a no for an opportunity or something, just go and find that person who will give you a yes, and just enjoy it, because there's no point only enjoying it once you're successful. You've got to enjoy the journey.
This episode has got me so excited. If you need some inspiration, need somewhere to start in living those dreams, this is it. This is the episode that you need to listen to. I'm Jay Louisa, and this is episode 2 of the Project Success podcast. On every show, we talk to a different guest about their dreams, their passions, and how they've reached or plan to reach the success they strive for. Joining me today, I have thealexmanners, an aspiring TV presenter. He's already a radio host, author, Asperger's champion, founder of the Asperger's and Football campaign, and he's taken part in many TV shows, interviews and documentaries. But you just might recognise him as an undateable. He hosts the children's show on Solihull Radio on Sunday mornings, and in April this year, he released his debut book, That's Not Right, My Life Living with Asperger's. If you want to find out more about the Project Success podcast, or want to know more about Alex's journey, you'll find it at www.yourprojectsuccess.com. Want some real inspiration about how you can embrace your own uniqueness to carve out the career for you? Look no further. This is Project Success, Episode 2, with me, Jay Louisa, and today's special guest, thealexmanners. Hi Alex.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so personally excited about interviewing you today and what I might learn, not just for our listeners, but for myself, because I think actually we've got quite a lot in common in terms of our ambitions and our ultimate goals. The reason that I wanted to get your story out to our listeners today is that you have an awesome outlook on life, an awesome way of approaching life. And I think a lot of that has been driven by your Asperger's diagnosis. The first thing I want to do actually is just have a bit of an introduction to your ambitions. To quote your book, life is an adventure, so enjoy it. So what is it that you want to do in life?
Well, my ambition is to become a TV presenter, and it's going to be hard to get to being a TV presenter, but hard work never phases me. So I love doing what I do, and doing things that can help me towards that goal really motivate me every single day. So I've always sort of had that sort of positive and never give up kind of attitude.
You've said very openly in the book that you've written, that I spoke about in the introduction to this episode, you never ever want to do a 9-to-5 job. When did that come about? When did you decide that the 9-to-5 wasn't for you?
Well, I think it all stemmed from when I was at school, and we had the same routine every day. We used to wear the same uniform every single day, and at school I always used to feel like I was hiding my personality because I was wearing a lot of dark coloured clothes, greys and blacks, and colourful clothes allow me to feel like myself and bring out my personality. So as soon as I went to sixth form, I decided, right, okay, I want to do a job where I can wear these colourful clothes and express my personality. And I was never nervous at sort of public speaking or being in front of people. And I thought, what job can I do that allows me to wear these kind of funky, colourful clothes? And I thought, okay, a TV presenter, it looks like a really fun job. The reason I decided to be a TV presenter, because it wasn't what I'd always wanted to be. It was all through my dad buying me a video camera, and he booked me on a TV presenter training course. And from that one TV presenter training course, I was like, right, yeah, this is definitely the job that I want to go into.
So it was him that came up with that idea. So you didn't have any want to be a TV presenter before that course?
No, I mean, originally when I first started in sixth form, I wanted to be a garden designer. I'd always done gardening at home and with my grandparents. But then, yeah, it was really only when my dad booked me on this TV presenter training course, and he bought me a video camera because I still do go to a lot of football matches. And I wanted to start doing like vlogs and videos at the different grounds and games I was going to. Through a combination of both of those two things, I really enjoyed both of the elements of videoing and TV presenting. So I thought, this is a really cool job and this is something I want to go into. And also it would have given me, being a TV presenter, a way to then promote awareness for autism as well.
So you were 10 years old when you had the diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome. At the time, obviously being a 10-year-old, you didn't know what it was. You didn't know anything about it. The way I read this is that it was your dad and what he said to you when you left that room that has shaped your whole outlook. I don't know whether you agree with that.
No, that's definitely how I look on it, because when I was sitting at school with our parents and the school Senko, and the Senko literally just said to us, by the way, Alex, do you realise you have Asperger's? Well, that's the first I'd ever heard of Asperger's, and I didn't really have an idea or any clue of what it actually was. So after the meeting, my dad came out and said, look, this is a positive thing. It gives you special powers, for example, thinking creatively and differently. So from that moment forward, I've always viewed it as a special power, really, and something. Yes, there have been a lot of challenges, and there still will be many challenges as a result of my Asperger's, but there are also many positive elements. And through him telling me that it was a positive thing and it gave us special powers, at the time that was all I knew about Asperger's. So I believed him, and I've always kept that way of thinking close to me.
It sounds like your whole family really have been quite instrumental in just keeping up your confidence and giving you the confidence you need to want to do such a public facing job.
I think so. And it's been really great as well having such a large family, because when I've been having struggles, especially when I was at school, I always had someone I could call up or somewhere I could go, like my grandparents or my uncle's house, just to get away for a short amount of time to relieve myself from the stresses. And also, some of my family wish they started their own business, or like my dad, for instance, he had his own business. So he's really helped me a lot with starting my own. My granddad, for instance, wished he'd started his own business. And I want to have a life where I'm not looking back saying, oh, I wish I'd have done this, I wish I'd have done that. I'm looking back saying, well, I gave it a go.
You don't need to do the 9 to 5 just because everyone else does the 9 to 5. You get told in school, you do school, you do college, you might go on to university, and then you get a job, and then you're counting down towards retirement. There really is no point in that, because we only get one life. You should be doing something you enjoy every day, and I think you completely sum that up, which is probably why you travel around doing talks on autism, and you're an autism and Asperger's champion.
Yeah, so I do a number of different talks on my life living with Asperger's and my time at school. And I present them to loads of different universities, councils, large companies. And if people want to find out sort of the things that I talk about within my talks and the prices and things like that, then they can head to my website, which is www.thealexmanners.com. And I've got a whole page on all the different talks that I do. And I generally just talk about, what is Asperger's, because that's what I was diagnosed with. Some of the experiences I've had throughout life, within a family, within school, some of the things I struggle with. And also I talk about why I look upon my Asperger's as something positive, to show people that actually, don't let your circumstances hold you back.
That kind of mindset doesn't just apply to a medical diagnosis. If you want to do something and you have a dream to do something, find a way to do it, and find a way to do something that suits you and your personality. It can be applied to anything that someone might be feeling at the time, and anything that our listeners might be feeling.
And I think a number of people who sort of come and listen to my talks from different universities, businesses, they often work with people with autism or have family members with Asperger's and autism like myself. But even if they don't, so many of the things that I tell them can, like you say, can be applied to so many different people, not just people with autism. Even sort of some of the things that specifically at school or in a business would help someone with autism, they'd also help someone who doesn't have autism. And they're things that are really easy to sort of implement and change. And that's what I kind of want to try and promote, that, it's not just people with autism that these things are beneficial for. It's kind of the wider group of people.
All of this is outlined in your book. It was released in April this year, wasn't it?
Yes, earlier this year.
April this year, and it's called That's Not Right, My Life Living with Asperger's. Whose idea was it for you to write a book?
Well, before I sort of decided to write this book, it was a few years before when I decided to write a similar book with my mum. And me and my mum only got about 5 pages into the book, and then we just sort of left it and never really revisited it. And it was only when I started to write a number of articles on my Asperger's and be interviewed like on the radio that I said to my dad, look, do you have any information about my time at school that I can use to write another article about? I think I was writing an article for a magazine. And he literally handed me 2 toy boxes full of file after file after file, all the struggles I'd had at school, all the fighting he'd done to get me the support that I received. And I was like, wow, this is too long for an article. people need to hear about this.
This is your book. And I'm sure actually in a few years' time, because as we both know, you are definitely going to make it in the media and broadcasting industry. I mean, you're already more than halfway there, I would say. Do you think you'll have another book in you?
I think so, because I mean, this book was primarily to help teachers to understand what it's like for children to be at school with Asperger's and the struggles that we have, because many people with Asperger's will be going through the same things, not just in the UK, but all over the world that I've gone through. But the sorts of stories and experiences that I share in my book are things that people just don't talk about. I mean, I even go down to the level and actually recite in the book some of the things that I'd said to my parents when I was stressed, some of the ways I felt at school. And then even for me, they're not nice things to think back to, because they're like, oh, I really said that to my mum or my dad.
I mean, they shocked me slightly while reading it,
Yes.
actually. And I think that's why it needed to be said.
That's right. I think I want people to know it. I don't just want to say to someone, oh, this is what it's like for autism. I want to actually say, this is what it's like, and this is actually what is said, what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to give a really in-depth, insight into what it's like. And yes, I am currently writing a second book as we speak.
You are? Is that an exclusive?
I have. I've not really mentioned it before. I've not put it on any social medias before. But it's a book about, because one of the things I've recently completed is watching a match at all 92 professional English football clubs.
Of course, yeah. One of your bucket lists ticked off.
Yes, that's right. So I'm writing a book with my uncle all about, because he did the journey with me. So we're writing a book all about our journey doing all the grounds, our friendship, and how football and this quest and this journey has really helped me with my Asperger's over the years.
You have a very detailed bucket list. One of those things you've already ticked off now as of this year.
My quest was to watch a match at all 92 professional English football league clubs. So I started, I think, about 12 years ago. So it's been sort of a 12-year process, but I'm only 22, and that's really, really young to have done all the grounds.
Using your hobbies in this way has been another step towards the media career, because you've not only written articles about autism and football, but haven't you been interviewed for documentaries and things?
Because I've been to hundreds of matches throughout the years, and because I have Asperger's, I wanted to help other people with Asperger's to have a better match day experience. So I think it was about 2 years ago now that I started my own autism and football campaign. And I've visited a number of different clubs and helped them to make their match days and their grounds more autism friendly. I've written articles in magazines and newspapers. I've been interviewed on ITV, Central, and by the BBC. Not just only my quest to do all the grounds, but also how I'm helping people through my autism and football campaign to have a better experience when they're going to different football matches and grounds.
That's fantastic. And again, people can find out more about that campaign through going to your website, thealexmanners.com.
Yes, that's right, thealexmanners.com.
Obviously, you've spoken a little bit about your journey in formal education in terms of the experience you had at primary school and secondary school, and you went on to sixth form. But it was this dream of this huge ambition to be a TV presenter that then led you on to actually choosing to be involved in more education, and you went to college?
Yes, that's right. It was the second year that I was in sixth form, because I went for 2 years, and it was the second year when I thought, right, garden designing I don't think is for me. And I'd been on this TV presenter training course that my dad had booked me onto, and it was like, right, that's what I want to do. I want to do a job that I'm remembered for. I want to do something that's fun, that can make me have a life of adventures, and a life where I can not only have adventures and fun, but also help other people like myself. And by being someone who was sort of publicly known, by raising my profile, would raise the profile of autism. I then went to college for 2 years, and I did a media course. And the really funny thing was, and it was probably one of the best things that's ever happened, and I was so shocked when it happened, whilst I was still in sixth form, I applied for the Top Gear co-presenters job. I couldn't even drive at the time. My ambition was like, well, so what? I'm just going to apply for it. And the day after I finished in sixth form, I was down in London at a tennis tournament, and I was reading through a newspaper, the Times newspaper, and I was like, I had a big photo in the Times newspaper, and I was like, I've only just literally left sixth form like the day before, and now I'm like in the Times newspaper.
And now you're all over the press.
Yeah, I'm doing lots of different things now. So that was sort of the sort of starting point for me, really.
The catalyst for everything, yeah. And I think that's another brilliant thing to say. Something about your mindset which just doesn't let anything hold you back. You couldn't drive, but you were you know so much that you want to be a TV presenter, that something as small as not being able to drive wouldn't put you off applying for the Top Gear presenter position. You left college, didn't you?
Yes. it was a 2-year course, and I really enjoyed the first year there. However, the second year, because I was so sort of ambitious and I'd started to do lots of videos, I'd started filming for my local football club, Solihull Moors, all their home matches. And I set up my own business doing promotional videos for different sports clubs and companies. And I was so determined to sort of do well with my career that I almost felt that college was sort of slowing me down almost. And that's why I decided 3 months before the course finished to leave and just dedicate my time doing my own thing and, my career of becoming a TV presenter. I still got the qualification. I still managed to do all the work. But I almost felt that at college, I was around people who maybe weren't as motivated as I was. And then when I was coming home from college, I was almost tired and unmotivated myself from the day and not wanting to sort of do the things that I knew I had to do to progress my career.
You say there was only really one other person in the entire course that actually had the same kind of dedication and ambition as you did. You weren't even really learning the technical experience in college. You felt like you were doing things that you'd already far surpassed with the kind of work experience you'd had, and that it was just draining you more than it was inspiring you. You almost got in trouble, didn't you, for working so hard outside of college?
Yeah, that's right, because a lot of the time, I remember one project that we did was to create a promotional video for a company. And because I'd done so many promotional videos for different sports clubs, I'd kind of already got one and done one. And I'd even got paid for it, which no one else in the class, I don't think, had. So when the teacher came around and said, look, has everyone got an idea of what they want to film or has already filmed it? Everyone was like, oh, we've got an idea of what we want to film. Or some people said, oh, we haven't even decided what we want to film. And the teacher just sort of skipped me out because he thought I was working with another two of my friends. And at the end I said, oh, by the way, I've already finished. And I was the only one who'd actually finished, and I was the only one that actually got paid for the video. And I think that was kind of like almost a catalyst. I thought, right, I'm better at just doing things on my own.
You already had enough of an individual idea about what it was you wanted from your career that you just didn't need someone else to tell you how to get there.
That's right. And I think it was some of the teachers who maybe thought that instead of doing this work outside of college, I should be focusing more on my college work. I thought, well, surely you should be really pleased and proud of me for actually going out and finding my own things to do within the media.
That's the chapter I read last night. I couldn't believe it, and actually after that I was so excited to speak to you today. I'm quite interested to find out what then your opinion on formal education for other people. So for anyone else wanting to go into the media industry, would you suggest for them to start with a formal qualification, or would you suggest just to go straight in with the work experience and networking, or is it a combination of all three?
I think it's kind of an individual approach. For me, because I wanted to be a TV presenter, even before I started my media productions course at college, that the qualification wasn't going to be the thing that led me to being a TV presenter. In fact, whether I had it or not was kind of irrelevant, because it would be my personality and my drive and determination that would lead me to achieving my dreams. I was going there to learn as much as I could about the media industry and behind the cameras, so that then when I did become a TV presenter and when I was in front of the camera, I was better equipped and more knowledgeable. That's the reason why I decided to do a course. But I think the most important thing, if you do want to get a job in the media, is to get work experience. There is nothing like hands-on work experience. I've done numerous things within the media, filming, having work experience on TV shows, TV sets, in studios, and none of it has been paid, but it's been such good experience, invaluable really.
As well as all this other work experience, you have your own children's radio show, Sunday mornings, Solihull Radio. Can you tell me a little bit more then about how that came about? Is this another step in the progression towards the media industry? Is that how it started?
I think so. It was funny because I've always sort of been interested in children's television, and children's television has always been a great way for me to relax when I'm stressed, or when I was at school and I was coming home having meltdowns and being really stressed. And that's always been sort of one of my things that I've really loved, watching children's TV. And it was funny because Solihull Radio I think they'd only been going for a few months when I contacted them to see if they wanted to do an interview with me about my Asperger's. So I went in, did the interview, and...
Sorry, you contacted them?
Yes, I contacted Solihull Radio, and basically said, do you want to interview me about my Asperger's? I'd love to come in. They said, yeah, that's great. So we arranged for a time to do the interview. And whilst I was doing the interview, I think one of the last questions that the presenter at the time asked me was, what are your dreams and ambitions? So I said, well, I'd love to be a TV presenter, possibly a children's TV presenter, because that's one of my biggest passions. And straight after the interview, he was like, well, we don't have a children's presenter. Do you fancy doing a kid show? And immediately I was like, yes, I'd love to do that. So almost sort of my autism and my Asperger's has basically given me a radio show.
It's opened doors to you. You've capitalised on something that is individual to you to then open the doors to the dreams you want. And I think it's fantastic how that is all linked together. You say in the book about, this is something that really stumped me, and it goes back to how you say you feel like you're a bit back to front. To me, the idea of going into a radio studio, you speak in the book about all the controls and how your family don't understand how you can sit in front of all those controls, and it's just second nature to you and you manage to do it. But then you talk about your experience in learning to drive and how multitasking is something that you struggle with because of your Asperger's. So the sixth attempt, you used an automatic car, and that took away the multitasking, and you passed. I couldn't grasp, and maybe this is just another niche of Asperger's, how multitasking in terms of driving was so overwhelming. But then sitting in a radio studio surrounded by all the controls and producing and presenting your own show, how that then isn't overwhelming for you?
I think the thing with me is it's always the sense that the tasks that are really hard for most people, I find really easy, but the tasks that are like really easy, I find really hard. So most people would, for instance, find it really easy to get the bus, for example. I find it terribly difficult getting the bus. And it's the same with the radio station. Like when I think it was my uncle, he said, oh, you were really good presenting your radio show. I said, oh yeah, I was doing all the buttons as well. He was like, what, you were presenting it and producing it? I was like, yeah, I was the only person in the studio. And he was like, really? He was like really impressed that I actually knew what to do. And I think it's because with the radio show, you're only really using one button at a time. Whereas in a car, especially like if you're going around a roundabout, you've got to change gear, turn the steering wheel, wink, look left, look right. So there's so many things you're doing all at once, which I found really difficult.
So it's the immediate multitasking. It's actually having to do multiple things in one moment and not having a chance to think about them in between.
I think so. And the way I do my radio show is I play a lot of songs and excerpts of old kids shows. So whilst those are playing, I can sort of get the next element of my show ready, put the next song in place.
I want to go on to talk a little bit about your really impressive show reel. You're 22 years old. I think quite a few of our listeners, if they go to your website or indeed Google you, I think they might recognise you from specifically Series 10 of The Undateables. It's always a programme that I've loved. I recently watched the episode with you in it. So whose idea was it for you to go on The Undateables? And not only that, were you actually looking for love, or was this just another tick in the box towards your ambitions?
Well, I mean, going on The Undateables, it was a really weird experience because I basically got an email from this production company saying, oh, we've seen one of your articles on your Asperger's in a newspaper, and we think you're really inspirational and we love how positive you are about it. And
that makes me laugh, sorry, because I always assumed that, people apply, but essentially a production company got in touch with you and said, by the way, you're undateable. Can you please come on our show?
Basically, I mean, most people who go on the show do apply. I think they get about 2,000 applicants per series. But it was weird because even with that initial email, they just basically said, oh, we love your article, we'd love to have a chat with you. They never mentioned anything about the show. It was only when I then had a chat with them on the phone that they said, right, we're from The Undateables. Would you like to come on, basically? And that's where it kind of all started from.
So it wasn't your idea, but obviously it's probably been quite good in terms of your visibility for TV presenting.
Definitely, because it's not just a show that helps people with disabilities to find love. It also helps to promote the things that person is doing. And it also helps to promote awareness for different disabilities. So for me, I'm able to promote awareness for Asperger's. Nearly everywhere I go, I have at least one person coming up to me and saying, oh, I've seen you on The Undateables or something like that. So definitely my visibility has grown a bit.
So as well as those kind of experiences that have happened to you, you work very hard every day trying to get yourself out there. And sorry, I keep going back to it, but you mentioned in your book, you say something along the lines of, and I love this, Every hour that you spend working towards your career goals is another hour closer you are to living your dream. Doing anything else is just wasting time. You also say something about you don't get starstruck when you're emailing people. Can you tell me a little bit about the opportunities you've applied for as well? We already know about Top Gear, and that's a fantastic story, but a little bit about the types of people you email and what you say to them and what experiences you're asking for.
Well, I always sort of have the mindset that, if you want something, the best people to email are the people that already have that or do that thing. So for me, it's being a TV presenter. So I thought, well, there's no better person to ask about what it's like to be a TV presenter or for any advice than an actual TV presenter. So I emailed a few different people. I emailed Chris Packham, not Chris Packham. I emailed, that was it, Michael Portillo, I think it was, because I loved his programs and he always wears really bright coloured suits. He emailed me back. I was lucky enough to meet Fiona Bruce at the Antiques Roadshow, which was another show I managed to get on.
I just love your, well, yeah, ambition, your motivation. It doesn't matter whether you can drive. I know that to get on Antiques Roadshow, you actually borrowed a load of your grandparents' antiques, and you got your nan to tell you all about it so that you could then be on the TV. I love the determination. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, and I remember whilst I was there, they had like a big bandstand in the middle of the stately home we were at. And I saw Fiona Bruce there, but she was surrounded by loads and loads of different people. And I said to my granddad, right, I'm going to get a photo with her. And my granddad was like, well, there's so many people wanting photos, you probably wouldn't. So I said, no, I'm going to get a photo with her. So I went to get a photo, and she had a photo with someone else. And then said, oh, I'm really busy. I've got to go and do the next bit of the show. Anyway, I was sort of the next person. And I said, oh, do you mind if I have a photo? And she was like, oh, yeah, definitely. And she said, because I had like this bright flowery shirt on, she was like, oh, you look like a cool dude or something along those lines. And I was like, and my granddad was like, wow, I didn't think you'd ever get a photo with her. So it's just basically my determination that has allowed me to get these opportunities. And it's my never give up attitude, I believe, and my Asperger's that will allow me to achieve my dreams.
I've learned so much about chasing my own ambitions from hearing your story and reading your book and speaking to you today as well. One thing I think is fantastic about you and your story is that a lot of people, me included, if you want a role in public, if you want a role in the limelight, lots of people are too embarrassed to admit that. So I'm an architectural historian, and I would love to use that to present history documentaries. When people ask me what I want to do, I say, I want to teach in universities, and maybe if I get lucky I could do something in the media to do with it. And I genuinely say something along the lines of doing research for documentaries. I never say I want to be the person in front of the camera. Is that something that you found difficult to admit almost to yourself and everyone else initially, or is that literally another one of your things are black and white, just do what you enjoy?
That's right. I think from the moment I decided I wanted to be a TV presenter, I thought to myself, right, well, what do TV presenters do? Right, TV presenters, I know I'd emailed Susanna Reid to see if I could get an autograph, and she'd sent me this photograph of herself signed. So I was like, right, well, TV presenters obviously have photographs that they sign, so I printed off a load of photographs of myself. Oh, TV presenters have websites, so I'll make a website. And then TV presenters might have LinkedIn or social media. And on all my social medias, before I'd even done anything, I was like aspiring TV presenter. So I think it was initially, I thought, right, how can I become a TV presenter? What do TV presenters do? I'm just going to do that basically. And my dad always finds it funny because when I first started to want to become a TV presenter and set up my own business doing things, the first thing I said to him was, right, I need a brand. And he was like thinking, well, but you haven't even done anything. But I was like, no, but I need a brand first to then start doing things so that people recognize me and things. So I think I've always I've never been shy to admit what my dreams and my ambitions are. And I guess that's just how determined I am to actually achieve them, really.
And how important it is that actually your brand shows your personality, because for anyone who has read your book or been on your website, our listeners can't see you today, but I can. You sat here in front of me. You are wearing your recognisable orange glasses, a bright orange jumper, perfectly matching your book and your website. Even your headphones are on brand here today. Your brand perfectly matches your character. And I think especially if you're going for something public facing media wise, people need to know what to expect from you, from your brand.
I think so. And I mean, a lot of the people that have recognised me through being on the TV is because on the TV I was wearing an orange suit. And sometimes I wear that orange suit to go and do talks and go to conferences and things. And it's been brilliant because it's almost like, oh, I see someone in orange. Oh, I remember him off the TV, or I remember him doing a talk. So it's kind of been one of those things that has allowed me sort of to, get myself out there more. And I always like some of my family say, oh, it's not all about money and this, that, and the other. And I always think, well, I'm not trying to earn loads of money or to be famous, but the more famous I am, the more money I earn. It's closer to my goal of becoming a TV presenter. And, the more money I earn means I've done more talks, I've been on the radio more, and basically I have more exposure and I've promoted more awareness for autism and Asperger's. So although that's not my primary aim to earn loads of money or to necessarily be famous, it's a way of engaging how well I'm doing with my career and how much awareness I can raise and promote autism and Asperger's and help other people.
That actually, I think, answers the question I was going to ask next. I was going to ask what you feel drives you. Is it money, is it fame, or is it your message? I think it's a mixture of all three. Like you said, they're intertwined. The more money you earn, that's a measure of success. I know that you say in your book that you'd rather be famous than rich. And I think, again, that's brilliantly truthful.
The more well-known I am, the more chance I've got of promoting awareness for autism, the more chance I've got of becoming a TV presenter, doing things within the media, having a life that I enjoy and going on adventures because, sometimes I travel hundreds of miles to go and do a talk in a day. I leave the house at sort of 5:30 in the morning and don't get home till 10 at night. And my parents are always like, oh, don't you find that a bit tiring? I'm like, no, it's an adventure. I want to explore as many places as I can and basically have an adventure. And this is one of the reasons I decided to write a book, because my story can then be shown and told all over not just in the UK, but all over the world to inspire people in many different countries.
Almost from day one, you have had a bucket list. You have a list of aspirations that are so important to you that not only they're listed on your website, they're listed in your book. Can you reel them off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So my ambitions are, number one, to become a TV presenter, to create innovative children's shows, to have my own documentaries and present my own shows around autism and Asperger's. Another two ambitions of mine, well, three actually. One of them is, which I've completed, my ambition to watch a match at all 92 football league clubs in England, to go on Strictly Come Dancing. And another ambition, which I actually forgot to write down in my book, which is to be an extra in the TV show Neighbours.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. No, that one's not written on the book. Just start getting it out there as much as you can. You never know. I think it's brilliant as well that you want to go on Strictly Come Dancing. The way that strikes me is that's just another measure of your success. You're not doing it because you necessarily want to learn how to dance, are you? You know that if you're asked to go on Strictly, you've made it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I love watching the show, and I'd love to go on it. But yeah, that's kind of, if I'm on the show, I know I've kind of made it.
There are just a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you now, and I think they're quite important questions for our listeners. And you've shown that you've got confidence, determination, but what advice would you give to someone who wants a career in the media, if there are any of our listeners out there?
I think the best advice is, if you're determined enough and you really, really want it, just go for it. Have determination. Remember that it's going to be hard, but if you've got that determination, just apply to as many places as you can, email as many people as you can, link in to as many people as you can on social media, Twitter, Facebook. Don't let a no hold you back. If someone gives you a no for an opportunity or something, just go and find that person who will give you a yes, and just enjoy it, because there's no point only enjoying it once you're successful. You've got to enjoy the journey. And that's what I always try and do. I enjoy everything that I do that will then lead me to becoming a TV presenter. So yeah, just have determination, work hard, and basically don't let your circumstances hold you back.
And that links to our last question today. Obviously, you're very knowledgeable about the media and the advice you'd give to someone who wants to go into the media. What would you say today to any parents out there who their child's just been given a diagnosis of Asperger's or autism?
I think one of the things I say to parents is definitely that, there will be challenges along the way, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and never let your child think that they're anything better than perfect, because, they can achieve whatever they want to achieve if they put their mind to it. Even just through my story, I've proven that, someone with Asperger's can actually go on and have a career and do the things they enjoy. That's one thing I would just say, just to believe that, better times will be ahead. And there are many positive elements of Asperger's, and there'll be many things that your child really excels at, better than most other people, which is just another part of having Asperger's. I think for someone with Asperger's themselves, I would say just be yourself. I would say find the things that make you happy. So for me, it was football, and pursue them. If it's football, for instance, if you're stressed, read a football program, watch football on the TV, indulge in your passions and allow it to be your kind of escapism from all your struggles and challenges.
Alex, I could honestly listen to you talk about your life and career aspirations forever. For any of our listeners out there who want to find out more about Alex and his story, so your book is called That's Not Right, My Life Living with Asperger. That's available on Amazon or through your website. Your website is www.thealexmanners.com. As well, they can catch you on Solihull Radio Sunday mornings from 8 till 10. Again, go to the website if you're interested in booking Alex for a talk. Alex, thank you so much for talking to us today.
No, thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope I can inspire many of your listeners.
Wow, so inspirational and so much to learn from there. Never let your circumstances stand in the way of your dreams. Find that one thing that makes you unique and use it as the key to open doors. Never take no as an answer. And if someone says no, move on and find someone that'll say yes. Tell people about your dreams, talk about your dreams and ambitions, and then hunt them down. They'll never become reality if they stay inside your head. And in some cases like mine, that means admitting to your dreams. You can find out more about Alex in the show notes for today's episode at www.yourprojectsuccess.com, including a link to his book, That's Not Right, My Life Living with Asperger's. At Project Success, we're always looking for inspiration. So if you have a project, a passion, or an aspiration that you want to tell us about, we want to hear from you. Whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, or indeed an aspiring TV presenter. If you think you're on a path that might be inspirational to our listeners, go to www.yourprojectsuccess.com and get in touch. That was episode 2 of the Project Success podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this is your project, your passion, your platform. This is Project Success.